David. David, WAN-IFRA, fellow journalists, thank you. You don't really know who you are until you're forced to fight to defend it. I'm so fortunate to see so many familiar faces from the time when we used to be reporters. I didn't really know. What I'm going through now has forced me to really figure out how far will you go. When you're forced to fight to defend who you are, every battle you win or lose, every compromise you choose to make or to walk away from, all of these things, these struggles define the values that make you ultimately who you are. So it doesn't matter what you think you were. Each moment tests who you are today. We at Rappler decided that a decade from now, we don't want to look back. We want to know that when we look back, we did everything we could at this moment in time. We did not duck. We did not hide. For the past 2 years, we've been fighting impunity on two fronts. Our government, which is fundamentally changing our constitution and our way of life, starting with a brutal drug war, and Facebook. We know its best and its worst. It enabled Rappler's fast growth and also later became the battleground for online state-sponsored hate that silenced voices that questioned. And in David's words, it allowed manufactured accounts to occupy the public space. Let's talk about government impunity. You're seeing a slide from the Facebook page of the Philippine National Police. They posted this December last year. The Philippine National Police announced that in the drug war, you can look here, nearly 4,000 people died in anti-drug operations, right? Look just below that, and you can see that it also admits in the drug war that 16,000 other people, other deaths, are under investigation. That's more than 20,000 people killed in a little more than a year and 4 months. Contrast that with 3,240 people killed during martial law from 1972 to 1981. Why don't you know that more than 20,000 people have been killed? Because in the first 3 months of the drug war, when journalists tried to report the casualty figures, the government just changed them, slicing and dicing people and numbers, demanding we report only what they say. Simultaneously, journalists were battered into submission by unrelenting, orchestrated attacks on Facebook. Hashtag real numbers, that's the government's hashtag. That death toll was the first casualty in our war for truth. When a lie is repeated 10 times, truth has a chance to catch up. But when it's repeated 1,000,000 times, it becomes the truth. Especially when it's backed by online state-sponsored hate that exploits the fracture lines of society. Let's go to Facebook's impunity. Here's just one example of how the platform was used to turn our world upside down. Unlike the West, surveys long showed that journalists were trusted in the Philippines, largely because our weak institutions and our patronage-driven politics meant people appealed for justice to news groups. Our stories mattered. In January this year, the Pew Research Center released its Global Attitude Survey, where the Philippines was number 2 globally in terms of trust in traditional media. look at the number, 86% of those surveyed said they felt traditional media was, and this is the quote, fair and accurate. Now, contrast that with EON, the local version of the Edelman Trust survey, that showed that among those on social media, and you're talking about almost 60 million accounts, so among Filipinos on social media, that red number, very small, it says 83% said they had a negative perception of traditional media. 86% trust fair and accurate traditional media, but if you're on social media, 83% have a negative perception. This rapid re-engineering of reality happened on Facebook, where the tools of our profession were turned against us to incite hate, create straw enemies, to build alternative realities. Free speech stifled free speech, successfully creating the spiral of silence in our society from August 2016 to August 2017. What happened in August 2017? 3 teenage boys were killed in the drug war and woke our nation. This propaganda on social media was meant not just to mislead our people, to control the public narrative. It is meant to overwhelm and attack journalists at a deeper, damaging psychological level. This is a new threat. We've never really dealt with this before. While in the past, you were thrown in jail, now the prison is inside the walls of Facebook and in our heads. Conquering that means confronting our individual fears. And regardless of what we perceive to be the consequences to our reputations, to our communities, we have to find the courage to report what we see. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't just happening in the Philippines. According to Freedom House in November 2017, in at least 30 of 65 countries it studied globally, cheap armies on social media are rolling back democracy. In India, South Africa, in Mexico, this happens on Twitter. Other countries, it happens on WhatsApp. Social media platforms are now choice tools for authoritarian rule. The data we've collected from Facebook show that women bear the brunt of these attacks, many of them sexual, aimed to strip us of our dignity and to bludgeon us into submission. So how do we survive? We look for solutions. We have no choice, right? In the long term, it's education. Medium term, media literacy. In the short term, investigative journalism. We have to keep shining the light. And right now, since the new gatekeepers are American tech companies, the irony, they hold the power right now to turn our world right side up. So, Rappler is actively working with Facebook. I think we give new meaning to the word frenemy. To my friends there and on other social media platforms, please move away from technological colonialism. Remember that every day you do not act in the global south, people die. When power, money, and fear come together, it means good journalism is very bad business. After Rappler hit positive EBITDA 2 years ago, startup to positive EBITDA, we hit break even in less than half the time a traditional news group would do it. Well, after the government attacks began, well, it brought us to an existential moment. We're determined to survive. I have plans, B, C, D, E, you name it. But please, while I have your attention, help slingshot us through what I anticipate will be a valley of death in the next few months. Join our crowdfunding effort. All you have to do is on your browser, type rappler.com/support. Thank you, WAN-IFRA, for having our backs. This is a global battle we have to win. To the men and women of Rappler, and it is 1 a.m. in Manila, and I know they are watching. This is your courage. You continue to inspire me. My heart breaks when I look up. When I look at what our young reporters and our staff have to live through, have to go through, and the courage that they show in the face of brute force and this impunity, the respect that they continue to show authorities, the nightmares they fight at night, the mission that lives inside them.
Have you ever been harassed because of your work?
Sorry, hold on.
Yes.
Have you been threatened on?
Sorry.
Ay, oo.
This award goes beyond Rappler. And if you please, there are several Filipino journalists in the audience. Please stand up. Our colleagues, our comrades in arms, please recognize the Filipino journalists who are trying to do our jobs. One minute 30 of other journalists, and you will see a slip of a girl. Her name is Pia Ranada. She is our palace reporter. She speaks directly and was kicked out of the palace. She is the constant friend of President Duterte. 1 minute 30 of what our journalists are facing in the Philippines. Please.
Have you ever been harassed because of your work?
Yes.
Have you been threatened online?
Ay, oo.
Have you been called biased?
Yes.
Have you been called stupid?
Yes, plenty times. By idiots.
Have you been called disrespectful?
Yes.
Have you been accused of corruption?
Yes.
Have you been called ugly as a response to any story?
Yes.
Have you been called fake news?
Oh yeah, they always say I'm fake news. Anything that's critical is fake, right?
Have you been accused of being an imperialist spy?
Yes.
Have you been accused of being a communist operative?
Yes.
Have you been accused of working for the CIA?
Yes.
Have you been sexually harassed as a journalist?
Yes.
Has your family been threatened, harassed, or alluded to?
Yes, it has. Specifically my daughter. When she died, there were a lot of people who made fun of that.
Have you been threatened with rape?
Yes.
Yes.
No, not me, but my family.
Have you been threatened with violence?
Yes.
Have you been threatened with death?
Yes.
Have you been told how you're going to be killed?
Yes.
Has the violence been described to you?
Yeah, blow my head off or bury me alive.
What will stop you from reporting?
Nothing.
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 Death.
Did you have to kill me?
The Golden Pen of Freedom also goes beyond journalists in the age of social media. So this award is also for the Filipinos who are holding the line, and there are many also out there getting the same types of threats, fighting back. And I want to do a special shout out to the men and women inside the Philippine government. Because your choices, every compromise you make, will determine the future our nation will have. This is for all Filipinos who continue to fight for our values, to stand for the rule of law, and to #defend press freedom. My name is Maria Ressa. We are Rappler, and we will hold the line.